probably should.
That's why I do. It's a good poll of what's going on around town. What's the
Do your own hair?
face shape your head.
Do my husband's.
You guys ready?
Missing two.
We're gonna be late.
Nice. About in the parking lot, can I be late?
Good evening. I'd like to call the Lisbon Town Council special meeting for Tuesday, April 14th, 2015 to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the first item, please.
Please roll call. Councilor Garrison?
Present.
Councilor Lunt?
Here.
Councilor McTevier will be here.
He will be late.
Okay. Councilor Bickford?
Yeah.
Councilor Pesky?
Here.
Councilor Crafts?
He will also be late.
And Councilor Brunel.
Here.
Before we move on, I just want to let the public know that over in the agenda box there is some supporting documentation with updated agenda items for later on this evening. And the next item, please.
Is audience participation and response for agenda items?
Open the floor for anybody that has audience participation regarding the one order we have on tonight. Actually, two orders we have. See no audience participation. Next item, please.
Is consent agenda. Any councilor wishing to have this item removed may do so. Order 2015-95 to approve the minutes of April 7, 2015.
Open the floor for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? And this is just so it get in the record for the CDBG grant application. All those in favor?
Order passed 5-0.
And the next item, please.
Under council orders, ordinances, and resolutions, Order 2015-96, the 2015-16 municipal budget schedule.
Diane?
Yes, we had to change the public hearing from the 21st to May 5th due to us not being able to get the public hearing notice in the paper on time. And on the 21st, we would have only been dealing with the school budget portion of it because my budget wouldn't have been ready. So by changing it to the 5th, we'll be able to do both of them on that one night, and we'll save some money in public hearing notice advertisements. So I guess to go on the record, you ought to approve the updated schedule by scheduling the public hearing for the municipal and school budgets on May 5th at 7 p.m. at the Lisbon Community School.
Open the floor for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? The school department did note the change of the public hearing at their school committee meeting last night, so they are aware of that change as well. All those in favor?
Order passed 5-0.
And the next item, please.
Is Order 2015-97 to adjourn to the budget workshop.
Open the floor for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Order passed 5-0.
And we'll go right into the budget workshop.
So I think probably the easiest thing we should do tonight is to go in order of the budget worksheet, starting with the elected officials. And we'll go through everything that we haven't already talked about. And I'm just going to touch on the highlights. Under the general government elected officials budget, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's for the stipends for the elected officials and the school committee. That's what that 17,730 represents. Professional development, we did add some funds in there this year, and that's for the council to go to the annual MMA convention. I know a couple went last year. So we added some funds just in case anybody wanted to go to that or attend maybe an elected officials class. The FICA is under this department, just like the workers' comp, due to the elected and appointed officials' stipends. Advertising is anything associated with the elected officials, like public hearing notices. $1,000 does not go far, but it's a help. any postage associated with this department, and printing expenses, and some supplies. So it's a small increase over last year. The increase is mainly because of the professional development and the FICA and the workers' comp that are now in this budget, in this department, rather than in a line item all by itself. Moving,
You said the 5,100 was the town council and
in the
school
school
committee?
committee, both, yes.
Do we have to fund the school committee, or can they fund through their own budget?
All the ordinance, Jody and I looked at that today, and the ordinance just says that the council sets the amount, but it doesn't say where it has to be appropriated. But my understanding is it's always been under the elected officials' budget.
I would say we should take the school committee out, have them put it in their own budget.
The other thing, too, that we found, there's an ordinance, because it directed us to the ordinance, and the ordinance says that the 10 committee members would get, committee and councilors would get $1,500 apiece, and the chairs would get $1,800. And that's not how it's budgeted right now. It's a little bit less than that. So I think, according to Jody, back when there was a freeze on salaries or cost of livings for all the employees, that the school committee and the council took a freeze as well, or a reduction. I don't know, I wasn't here, but
We took a reduction.
took a reduction, yeah.
Out of the million.
But we never did anything with the ordinance, because the ordinance still says $1,500 for the council members and the committee members, and the $1,800 for the chairs. But that's not what we're budgeting.
Well, I would put it out there, I'd like to see the school committee members out of this budget and have them funded through their own department. That's my thought.
Well, I think if the charter specifies that it's in the control of the council, it's probably better to leave it in this budget, so we're not, getting into that problem again of control of line items and who controls what portion of the budget and stuff, since it's all being paid for by the taxpayers in the end.
Well, I can see that point as well,
Yes.
but, I mean,
Before we
but
move it, I think we need to look into it.
Yeah.
we're not controlling how much we're gonna pay them, we're just controlling where the appropriation would go. So, Diane, could you look into that?
Yeah. Moving on to the town managers. The director manager is my salary, which includes the stipend for being treasurer and the increase that you gave me at my 6-month evaluation, and a 2% cost of living like all the other employees. The administrative assistant, and then we've also put in the retirement, all the benefits associated with this department, with the employees in this department. And the auditing is the one that's been reduced because of the bid. We were paying $20,500 for auditing services. Once we went out to bid, that has been reduced down to $9,850, significant savings. Then the cell phones, which is the contribution to my cell phone and for Jody's cell phone, and then our postage, printing, and supplies. So again, mainly the increases are your employee benefits and that large decrease on the auditing services.
Could you go over the 5102 line, the admin, the increase, just to update the public on why
Oh,
that
that's
is?
right, I'm sorry. We did budget an additional increase in there of $3,000 because Jody is the one that's going to be doing the payroll from now on and the reporting that goes along with the payroll. The school is going to retain the person that we're sharing. They need that person full-time, so we need to train somebody in-house. So this will be an additional duty for her. So she's in the process of training right now. And then we're going to need to have one other person trained because we really need 2 people. We can't just have one because if she's on vacation or out sick, someone needs to do the payroll.
Current process we have now isn't ideal either, so.
No.
You have any questions on the town manager budget?
So most of the increase here is really stuff that's being moved over from other accounts where it
Yes.
was like
Yeah, all
just
the,
bundled in with other accounts, and we're breaking it up by department.
yep. You'll see that when we get down to Department, Division 115, the insurance. You'll see that there's nothing there. It's because it's gone to all the other different departments. distributed to all the other departments for the employee costs. Now, under the general government contingency, I left the 5,000 in there just for any unforeseen emergencies during the year. And the grant match, I reduced down to $5,000 just in case we might need to have a match for a grant. As you recall, the 50,000 of that this year is going towards our match of the CDBG grant. We're not going to know until after year-end closes whether we're successful or not. So what we'll want to do is carry that amount forward into a general ledger account for the grants match, just in case we are successful.
The contingency line of 5,000, I've had a bone of contention with this contingency since I've been on the council. I don't like the idea of having a contingency, because it seems to me like it's a slush fund, you know, for lack of better terms. And I know some people think you have a contingency if you have an emergency, but really, $5,000 is not much money these days, nor would it help us much in an emergency. And the council does have authority to go into the undesignated in an emergency situation. So I would like to see the contingency gone, but that's my personal opinion.
I would too.
So who has authority to spend the contingency? Is it just the manager, or who has authority?
No,
to
I
fix
would
that?
come to council for something like that.
I mean, then Dylan does have a point then, if there's
Yeah,
no
then-
real reason to budget it, if we're, you know, if we have a real emergency and you need $4,000, you're gonna come to council anyway, might as well just do it that way.
I don't think in the past they've came to us for approval to spend contingency. So I would just soon see that chopped.
Steve is-
Yeah.
Where would you put the grants match line then?
Maybe I should be more specific, just get rid of 5213.
Yeah, but Can we put the grants match in another, I mean, might as well do away with.
Yeah, you could always
not
put it under,
grants, Not really.
right.
Could you put grant match maybe under just town manager?
Actually, what I can do is change that title from just contingency. I can put grant match and then contingency afterwards. And then next year, I'll just change it to grant match if we even have it.
Yep.
So let me write that. Now, your next department is the insurance. That's where we previously and currently budget all of the employee costs, workers' comp, medical insurance, life insurance, and that we have redistributed to all the departments. That's why those are showing zero. Under the accident insurance, I budgeted zero. So far this year, we have not paid anything out of that account. I look back at prior year, we didn't pay anything out of that account, so I think it's a leftover from something that happened back along, but last year and so far this year, we're not paying it, and it's not on our list of insurances that are broken out by our insurance carrier, so I'm not sure what it's for, so I didn't budget it. Unemployment, that's another employee cost. The employee assistance is a cost that we have to incur now. I do want to say, though, that if we end up going to a fully insured health plan, like I'm looking at right now, the employee assistance would be a part of that, so we wouldn't have to raise that separately, so that could be a reduction in the budget. The general liability, vehicle insurance, police liability, property insurance, public officials, employment liability, firefighter liability, and the crime insurance. All of those currently have 5% increases built in because I don't have the new amounts yet. We did get some back that showed a 7% increase, but they're going out to another carrier to see if we can get a better rate. So I'm hoping it will come down to the 5 that I have currently budgeted. So that may change, or it may just stay the same.
What is crime insurance?
That's the insurance for if there's any type of fraud, embezzlement. It's not associated with the police department, but it's crime for the employees.
So this is if an employee
Yep.
commits and takes
Yep.
part in fraud and embezzlement?
And then the legal, I left the same. We've done an awful lot of legal work this year, trying to clean up some things. We're going to overexpend that account by quite a bit. But I'm hoping everything will level off so that we don't have to increase that, but I'll know better in a couple of months. So I'm leaving it the same right now. The retirement, that's another one that's been distributed to all the departments, as well as the Social Security and Medicare.
Which one did you go to?
The next two down after legal.
Oh. I'm just following in a different order, that's all. You can continue, though.
Now, we're up to technology, which is Ryan.
Good evening.
Hello. You'll see the budget has actually decreased from last year. Some of the highlights are really, there aren't many highlights. We're not doing the large server upgrade that we had done last year, and the main decrease, I guess, was the lease purchase item being moved to long-term debt. But essentially, all the lines are about the same. Well, they're pretty much exactly the same, other than the service and software agreements. And those are broken down in the detailed sheets afterwards. I can elaborate if you need to.
In those agreements, really, we don't have much room with those because they're contractual, if I remember correctly.
Correct. And the only new agreement was the Mitchell One software, which was software we purchased for the Public Works mechanics, so them to have access to online information, so they can look up specific vehicle information and whatnot. Something we haven't had in the past.
Eric, just since you're coming in, we went through the first part of the budget. We're just on technology now. We're just going right from the front to the back. Any comments or questions for technology?
I just have something I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Under the IT, the user access and support, we have, we're going to moving forward, charge off $2,376 to the water department because we do service their computers, but we haven't been charging them for it. So I'm showing that as an offsetting revenue. And the same with the wastewater department. I don't have that right here, but anyway, we're charging off a portion, and that's showing up as an offsetting revenue to us.
And is sewer department the 2376 as well?
It's more than that for the sewer. It's $4,158 for the sewer.
Okay. And has the water department been advised of the,
Yes, I have.
okay. The sewer department doesn't have much of a choice.
We'll get into more cost sharing when we get into the sewer budget later on.
Perfect. Any comments or questions from council? See none? Next one, please. Town buildings.
The biggest change with the town buildings was, again, the shift of phone, water, sewer, supplies to the different departments that have some of the different buildings. We did not change the savings. We were conservative with our savings estimates, I guess is what I should say. Siemens provided us with some anticipated costs for electricity, heating, and natural gas based on the project that we're currently undergoing. And you can see where kind of some of the shifts went from mostly heating oil to natural gas costs. We also had the corresponding decreases in the 5400 line, which is the buildings account, and then the repair and maintenance equipment line was also decreased to help offset the costs that we had to make for the payments for the building improvement project.
Where do we still have regular heating oil?
A couple of the fire stations, the library, well, both fire stations, the library. That's pretty much it I can think of.
Is there any chance of switching those over anytime?
We get natural gas, we go up Main Street, and then it's got to go out Village, so it's not likely at this point.
Okay. Down to the 5340 building line.
Yep.
Every year, we put a little bit of money there to do a little maintenance to the buildings.
Yep.
Where are we with the library in aspects of fixing up the brick?
Yep. That's our plan. Diane and I met with the company that's done the work for us in the past and got some updated pricing. And our plan at this point was to take the money that we have in the current year budget and then go out to bid sometime soon, so that way we can do some work at the end of June and then overlap into July, so we can use the money from both years to try to get that building completely done on the outside. We also need to coordinate that work with the roof, because the roof's going to be replaced as part of the building project, and I'd like to get the roof done and then get the brickwork done.
What about the fire stations? How are they?
We have, I think Sean's only request this year was some garage door opener modifications and improvements. Some of the openers are old, and I don't believe the sensors are safety, from a safety standpoint. The sensors, I don't know if they're fully functional.
And with this, within this budget, we'll be able to fund that?
That's the plan at this point, with whatever is left over in this current year's budget to help handle the library project.
Do we have a lot left over? Roughly how much?
I don't have those numbers right here.
It's not that important. If you could just email it to me sometime.
It's in this budget to actual report.
Okay, I'll just take a look at that.
It would be the 5,400 line, I believe, is the one that, where the money would be. We budgeted that 30, and we haven't spent a whole lot.
I'll look at it tonight.
Yeah, we've got a $24,900 balance right now.
Oh, thank you. You're a lot quicker than I am.
It's not verified, though, but that's what it says on paper.
That means who knows. All right. Council, have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I assume some of the decreases here are because things, again, that were moved to other
Correct.
departments.
Yep.
And some of the things that are left here, like there's like telephone went from 14,000 down to 5,000. So where's the 5,000 that's still in the budget go? Is that
Here.
for this building?
Yep.
Okay.
We transferred 8,000 from the electricity line. That went to the QECB debt payment. And we transferred 30,000 from the heating oil line. Some of that went to natural gas and to the QECB debt. And then the 5,400 buildings, 30,000 of it all went to the QECB debt.
Any other comments or questions? All right, move on to assessing. Good evening.
I guess I'll just let you ask me any questions, because I think my budget's kind of boring. There's not much there.
You put that well. Council have any comments or questions?
No.
I had one question under 5215 contracted services.
Yes.
When 85,000 to 5, I know this because we're in our last portion of the reval.
Right.
Do you leave an extra 5,000 there for any services you might need beyond to get us through?
Yes. Lisbon has some unique properties, and some of those properties, if we were challenged on them, we may want to get a professional appraisal done.
Okay.
It would probably be cheaper in the long run than attorney fees, so, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? While we have Ms. Malloy up here, I'd like to jump to 08800 abatements, since you're already up here. Looking at the abatement line, we have $10,000 scheduled in here for next year. I'm not sold that $10,000 is enough. What are you thinking we need in there to, to be safe?
It should probably be increased, maybe 15,
To 15,000 or up additional 15?
to 15.
Do you
To
think 15 will
15.
be good? I was thinking more 30 or 40,000.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
It's hard to say. They do hold those hearings in May to try to clean up a lot of problems and so that we don't end up with a lot of abatements. That's the goal of those hearings in May, but it's,
So you would be comfortable if it was, that number was 20,000?
yeah, that would be good, 20,000.
I would like to put on the table that we increase the abatement line from 10,000 to 20,000. Council, what does council think?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for assessing or abatements? Seeing none, thank you very much. We have Board of Appeals next. I'm just going through my book, I'm not sure if that's how everybody else is set
Yeah, it
up.
is. This is really for the appointed officials to the Board of Appeals, the wages, and any professional development, any training, and then the employee costs, FICA, workers' comp, advertising if they need any, and postage and supplies. And that would all be associated with an appeal that they would have to hear. And so far this year, they have not heard any, since I've been here. I don't know when they met last.
Okay.
This is one of those committees, the way it's set up, that they get paid whether they meet or not. So that might be something you might want to look at down the road. You know, have the money there for it, but if they don't meet, they still get paid. Which is kind of unique, because that's not how the planning board is set up. They get paid if they, you know, attend a meeting. If they don't get paid. I'm not sure why this committee was set up that way.
Any other comments or questions? Or anything in general?
What will we have to do to change that?
I think change an ordinance, another ordinance change. Is that something you want me to look into? I mean, it's just weird that they're paid even if they don't meet.
I have a bunch of ordinances that I'd like to look at after the budget, so
Okay.
I don't know if council wants to wait and when we have a slow season, or do it now during the budget process.
We'll wait.
I think we should wait and do it now, because, I mean, even if they don't meet, these people are kind of being on call, because it's kind of a board that meets when there's a need for it.
Yeah.
So if you're volunteering to be on that board, you're basically saying, I'm going to show up when there's, you know, a need for it. So it's a little bit of annoyance, I'm sure, to have to be able to block that out of your schedule.
You just want to wait too, Mark?
But yeah, I'd rather wait. And
Okay,
discuss
yeah,
it
let's
with-
just put that on the
we could-
schedule for
Okay.
maybe July.
Yeah, I think maybe we can meet with the people on the board, and, you know, see what their opinion is too.
That's a good plan. All right, planning board. Go ahead.
Is anybody going to speak on the planning boards?
I don't think there's much here to talk about.
The only difference is we moved the contracted services for Amanda from the code enforcement up to planning, because that's typically, she's doing work for the planning department, not the code enforcement. So it's just a shift from code enforcement to planning.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Amanda. I know I saw you. Thank you very much for all the hard work you do with the planning board and with the town office to help us move along. There's a lot of work to do, but you've brought a lot to the community, so thank you very much.
Good 20,000.
All right. Code enforcement.
Dennis?
Guess mine's the same. I'll answer any questions. It's a fairly boring budget. One-person department, so there's not much there outside of salaries, so.
Any comments or questions? From the original proposal we had increased the wage line by 5,000 due to take
No,
on.
no, that's under the health officer budget. It's not in this one.
Oh, you didn't add it to this line?
No, it's under health, when we get
Really?
to the health officer. It's got its own department. I left it there.
But I thought you were going to close that department and put it in his line item, no?
I can, if you
I
want
just
me
thought
to.
you were going to do that at the last council meeting, but I must misunderstood
No,
you.
I
I
can do-
prefer to see it on its own. I don't like all that stuff lumped into the code enforcement salary, because people don't see the reimbursements from Sabatis and things like that, so they see that number and say, you know, what the hell are we doing? But they don't realize what we're getting back, so.
What happens throughout the budget in other places as well, so
Well, I'm just telling you my opinion. I'd
Yep,
just soon not
yep.
see it there.
I think where the health officer is required by law that we have one, there's a statute out there that says we have to have it. Might be better if we kept it separate.
I'm good with
so-
keeping it separate, but in my notes I had that we were going to change that line, so
Oh, okay.
I'll scratch my note.
And you'll notice that the mileage has been deleted. That's because Dennis has the vehicle now, so we've added vehicle expenses to his budget.
We save money.
Yep. $1,000, hopefully. Right.
Any comments, questions? See none, thank you. Finance? Good evening.
Good evening. Finance budget is pretty slim, as you would expect from any finance department.
Especially you, right?
Absolutely.
There we go.
Basically, salaries and wages are for myself and part-time accounts payable clerk. You can see that additionally, all the costs of employee overhead, such as Social Security, retirement, works comp, and health insurance are also budgeted in the line item. The discretionary funding that we have in the department basically is for professional development and meetings. Basically, all of the supplies, rental of equipment, and everything to the bottom goes to support the town office as a whole. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Any comments or questions from council? I personally don't have any, but I just want to take this opportunity. It's the first time you've been to a meeting in the public to welcome you to Lisbon. I
Thank you very much.
hear a lot of good things that you're doing. I look forward to the continued stories of the good progress. So,
Drop in, we'll talk about fishing anytime.
all right, I'll be
Thank
down.
you.
Dylan, I just want to note that the medical insurance and the retirement are for the 5110 wage line, which is the accounts payable clerk. It's not
Yes.
tied to the director.
I just didn't ask you that question because I already had the answer there. Tax collector? Twyla, you can stay there. Oh, okay.
I'm prepared. We've officially consolidated the front counter tax collection and the town clerk's department. Mrs. Barnes asked that I agree, and I agreed to take on supervising these positions. The new direction encompasses scheduling vacations, training, and ensuring a minimum of 2 people out front for the collections to meet audit standards and approval. In the wage line, you'll see an increase of $4,658. $772 is for the 2% raises for the 3 positions, and the $3,886 is for an on-call position that we missed in the first round, but it's very much needed. In mileage, we moved $150 for meals and lodging out of this line, and we added $119 for mileage to the conference in Bangor for the deputy tax collector, and we added $131 for trainings to Bureau of Motor Vehicle trainings and basic excise class. This is for the deputy tax collector and the office supervisor, so we're working on cross-training. And line 5121, professional development, we decreased by 100. We adjusted that amount to cover the needed MMA classes for the deputy tax collector and the office supervisor. Covers the extra membership dues for the office supervisor. Line 5123, meals and lodging, is the new line where we moved the $150. And this would cover the deputy tax collector's conference in May. We estimated the room at 100, and the meals about 50 for the 3-day conference. We thought we were going to have enough to go to the 3-day conference in this year's budget this year, but there isn't enough when we got to the end. So, again, lines 5130 for FICA, retirement, workers' comp, and medical insurance, and the unemployment are new lines here. They're adjusted to accommodate the overall disbursement. that you're doing like the other budgets. Line 5256 for postage was decreased $3,000 because we removed the certified mailing costs for the tax lien and foreclosure process because we recouped this cost through the lien process by the taxpayers. There should be fewer accounts needing notices next year now that we are almost caught up with the outstanding work. Line 5265, registry fees decreased by $5,500, the entire amount. The recording and discharge of tax liens is completely paid for by the taxpayer. Line 5375 and 5380 for operating supplies and supplies did not change.
Comments or questions from council? I don't have any, but I do want to say thank you for taking on the additional duty of supervising the front. I think it's a great change to have in the town office, and I really do appreciate you taking on that task.
Thank you.
There is going to be an increase to the medical insurance line. When I looked through the spreadsheet that was done, I found 2 or 3 discrepancies today, so we're going to have to add to that.
Okay.
It wasn't taking the calculation correctly, so I had Jody redo it, and we're going to be adding $1,177 to that. But I figured the next time we come together, I'll make all these corrections.
Okay.
And I'll let you know where it happens in the other parts of the budget here.
Was the next one the town clerk?
Yes.
Okay, so the next budget is for the town clerk. And we can go over some changes there. Line 5100, elected and appointed, is the same. Line 5101, the director and manager, was increased by $4,075. This line includes the 2% increase, plus Mrs. Barnes requested we add $3,000 for a stipend for taking on the supervisor role for the tax department excise counter. This includes budgeting, scheduling, so that we have the 2 at the counter out front, as I mentioned before, and all the other duties assigned. This has worked out well for us so far, just to let you know. And I believe the town clerk position should be able to absorb that extra work. Many communities have done this already as well. Line 5110, wages, is actually temporary wages, and that was decreased by $16,250. If I can refresh your memory, this line was used to cover 1 full-time person in the town clerk's office. And last year we were thinking that it would be cut in half, so we budgeted the $20,000, but decided to consolidate with the tax and excise counter in the end. So it was a position eliminated. This year we're leaving $3,750 in that line for an on-call position to cover the extra work needed at election time to issue and process absentee ballots, voter cards, cover the office when the clerk is out. Line 5112 as temporary wages. That's actually just election personnel, and those remain the same. And just wanted to let you know that we've been fortunate to have the vote tabulator machines. This makes processing the votes at the end of every election about the same. We added a machine at each end to reduce the amount of time voters wait in line to cast a ballot. That works extremely well. And this year we plan to process absentees at the polls using election clerks that day instead of hiring an additional 10 or 12 election clerks to process them the day before. These changes make election budgeting much more consistent. Line 5120 for mileage increased $100. This increase covers the mileage not for 1 but for 3 to attend MMA workshops. And the positions out front are expected to know specific details about issuing vital records, hunting and fishing licenses, and so forth, so they will eventually be cross-trained. MMA offers new clerks workshops, vital records, municipal law, and voter reg classes. The location for the New England Clerks Conference this year will be in New Hampshire. Well, it was in New Hampshire. It's now in Woodstock, Vermont this coming year. So those have all been adjusted. Line 5121, professional development, decreased by $300. Last year this line was increased so that I might attend the IIMC meeting in Connecticut this year. We typically budgeted $1,280 yearly. I decided to send the staff to some few new trainings and then decided to go to the IMC Region 1 meeting, which is a little cheaper. And the Region 1 meeting's topic was on freedom of information, which may not be exciting to you, but it certainly was to me. This coming year, we'll focus on cross-training still, and so we're budgeting some more MMA workshops and election classes, like the ones we talked about under mileage. Line 5122, meeting dues memberships increased by 60 to cover the extra costs for the new memberships for the extra staff. Line 5123, meals and lodging was decreased by $250. Last year, we increased the lodging and meals to cover that IMC conference, and this year we returned to the regular schedule. But we added funds for the deputy, town clerk, counter clerks, and myself to attend county clerk meetings, and of course the conference at Woodstock, and this would cover the MMA conference in this line, and for 2 to attend instead of 1. Line 5130 for FICA retirement, workers' comp, unemployment insurance are all new lines, as you're well aware. Line 5201 advertising and notices is the same, as contracted services are the same. And 5256 under postage, we increased by 200. We send out dog notices, absentee ballots, voter acknowledgement notices, and this year our line is short by about $200, so we added the 200 now. Hope that we'll be in line next year. Line 5257, printing is the same. Line 5258, professional services, was increased by $1,200. Mrs. Barnes and I have talked, and we propose that you add a little bit more to this line. At first, we estimated that the $1,200 might be enough, but we've finished our recent codification through December of 2014, and the bill is $995 more than we have in our line. So we're 6 months behind when we start July 1 into the new fiscal year. So if I might, I'd like to see that line increase to $14,800. That would, I expect, be enough to catch us up in the new fiscal year. So you would need to add $600 more to that line if you agree to do that. Line 5345 for repair and maintenance is the same. Supplies and capital equipment is something that we wanted to talk to you about if you had any questions. The $10,426 is new. This amount is needed to replace the used, reconditioned punch card style booths that we purchased about 10 years ago. The plastic is literally falling apart. I closed one at the last election when I put it away, and the side completely fell off. So the rest, I'm thinking, they are already cracked. They probably will too. They're definitely fragile, and over my 28 years, I've been pretty frugal, and we've never bought new. But this time, I am recommending that you finally buy new booths. We're extremely lucky to be buying these new booths at this point in time, because the new ones are easier to put up, faster to take down, and take up less space when you store them.
You mentioned line 5258, the professional line. Did I hear you say you wanted to increase it to 14,800?
Yes, the total should be 14,800 in the end.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong sheet, but I think ours is at 12,000
Right.
now.
It is,
so
say 12 now.
I was confused when you said an increase of $600. That's all.
1,600.
Okay.
Yeah, the 10.8, we put 1,200 with it to come up to the 12,000, but if you add 1,600 more, it would come to the 14,800. Didn't mean to make it that complicated, but
Oh,
is that right?
should, no, it
Ron?
should be 20,
2,800.
2,800?
2,800 more to get 14,800. So you want it to be 14,800?
2,800, yeah, in
Okay.
total, when you put that together, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never know if I'm looking at the
Oh,
wrong
16.
sheet, so
I'm adding the 12 we already put in, the 16 new. That's 28, same thing.
maybe go to my phone.
So, we're good. I'm following it.
So 28. Does council have an objection to increasing that? I personally don't, but if
I
it's
think you've
anybody
been
else.
doing really well. We have a great codification company that we've been doing business with for a long time at a $22 a page rate. And I've, of course, been to some of these conferences and did a little comparison and shopping around, and the lowest I can find right now today is 25. So I think you are doing good in keeping with Municipal Code Corporation for now. We have been very busy, and our codes look really great. You guys are doing a wonderful job keeping up with the new changes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from council? All right. Thank you. police.
Do you want to continue on through the departments we haven't touched yet, or do you want to go in order? We've already heard from the police, but I don't know if there's anything you want to touch on now as we're going through it, or do you want us to go right through the end and talk about the departments we haven't touched on?
Sure,
up
we
to
can
you,
keep
doesn't
going
matter.
and come back to police if you want.
Okay, so we're going to want to go all the way to Department 04415. I'm not sure what document you're looking at, but if you're looking at the new sheets I gave you, it's page 16. This is the health officer, the $5,000 for the stipend for the health officer, plus all the associated employee benefits, and a little amount for supplies in case we need some supplies.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's community service.
Since he's already an employee, why do we have to pay the extra retirement, workers' comp, and all that? Isn't
Well,
it
because it's based on the wage.
based on the wage?
It's based on the wage.
Okay.
If you weren't paying him, then you wouldn't have to have that, but it's a percentage
I
of the
thought he
wage.
worked for nothing.
I know. You can ask him.
But Diane, just for clarification, he's going to be taking over the same duties that
Yes.
Auburn
Yeah,
has
Dennis,
been
can you
providing?
get up and explain that, please? What you're going to be doing? Please.
I didn't bring the stuff, I didn't know I was doing that one tonight, so I didn't bring the stuff with me. But we actually have some local ordinances. We have our own ordinances that require victualler inspections, which is essentially food establishments, vendors, that sort of thing. So over and above what the state does, we have our own ordinances in place that require yearly certification for that. So you have to go in, inspect the establishments, go through a checklist, whatnot, approve them, and then town council recertifies them every year. So that's one of the roles. The other role of a health officer is a lot of the calls that would come in be a lot of no heat calls from tenants, landlord disputes, things like that. Health officer has to get involved, let the landlords know the tenants' rights, things like that. So 4 or 5 a year, I think, is what I've seen typically since I've been here. Outside of that, it's all the food establishments doing the inspections. On the other exception is Moxie Days. Have to do all the itinerant vendors, which is all the mobile vendors. Go out on Moxie Days, approve and inspect all them prior to them operating. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. There was some confusion, and I'll be honest, I'm still learning. I've got 6 months to be certified, so I can't tell you where the line is, but there is a line from what a health officer is certified to do and what the state does. The state does biannual, well, they're supposed to do biannual inspections of any food establishments. That's statewide. That's not just for Lisbon. I think you'll find the state's way behind on their inspections. That's their own issue. Going into this, we've had the benefit in the past of Christy Bourget, who's actually a state-certified inspector. So Lisbon has kind of had the advantage of her coming in to do the health officer inspections. While she's there, she just does the state inspections as well. So Lisbon's actually in real good shape when it comes to their restaurants and food establishments, just because of the fact that she carried 2 hats. You won't have that anymore with just a health officer. The reality is you didn't have that before either. She just happened to be there. So the state is still required every 2 years to do their inspections. But that's next level up. That has to do with food prep and certifications at that next level. That's not anything I'm interested, so don't even ask. The health officers would I'd have to draw the line on what I can do on a weekly basis. So other than that, we do have the ordinances right in the book. I printed them off for Diane. If anybody wants copies, you can see it lists out what the health officer is responsible to do. And then there's some state statute language showing that every municipality has to have one. If it's not me, then by default, I think it's the town manager, and then go from there, so.
You want another job, Diane?
Oh, I don't.
So
We
you
could
said-
arrange that.
You said you're going to take your test, become the state one?
No. I'm going to be certified for the health officer, but I'm not interested in going into the restaurant food prep side of it. That's a whole separate, that's a much larger certification and nothing I'm interested in doing.
You mentioned you have 6 months to get certified. What is your time, your time frame of when you think you'll be done?
From what I've seen, that shouldn't be a problem. I downloaded the entire course online as a PDF, so I've done the hard copy course already. which has all the test questions and everything in it, but you actually have to take the online course to get certified. So that'll be next. So I went through the paper copy just to see what's entailed, to make sure I could do it. I shouldn't have any problem within the 6 months.
So you might not be done by July 1, so should we somehow keep Christie on until he's ready?
No, he could.
No, you can act in the capacity of the health officer for that 6-month grace period. So I can still serve every purpose of the health
Okay.
health officer now. You just have 6 months to get your certification.
All right, so you can still carry out the duties.
Right.
All right.
But I'll be honest with you, if I run into a situation I'm not sure about, I'll call Christie.
Okay.
She's
That was
local
my
here.
concern. I don't
and-
want any of those vicular licenses going underneath the carpet because we're not ready for them, that's all.
Yep, yep. The reality is I've been on many, many inspections with her. We do them kind of the same time anyway. That's one of the reasons why I felt I could take this role on, because typically we go at the same time. I do the building side, she does the health side. I'll just be doing both when I'm there, so.
Okay.
All right.
All right. All right.
The next one is public service, community service. The wage line is for one part-time employee to work in the kitchen for Meals on Wheels or senior meals. And then you've got your benefits that go with that. And then the final one is the bus service. 35,000 provides funding for the Lisbon connection with Western Maine Transportation Services.
Mark, for the senior meals, do they pay for those?
Yes, there's a fee, I think it's $6.
Okay.
It's a Wednesday meal for Seniors Plus.
Typically, if you take the costs of the food and you take this wage line, someone to be in the kitchen, would those funds for $6 a plate cover this cost?
So
Okay.
the money goes to Seniors Plus.
So it actually isn't an offset, oh, kinda, sorta. Okay. All right, thank you.
The next one is your miscellaneous public service, the Historical Society, the food cupboard, Memorial Day, and then your MMA dues.
In your opinion, do you think we get our bang for the buck with MMA?
I went and looked today to see if we were not members, what it would cost us. We would have to pay, in some instances, more than double for the classes, for the MMA-sponsored classes. And I saw at least probably 2, but it wouldn't come anywhere near the $8,000. I just don't know what all the other departments do for MMA training. But a lot of my training is through the Maine Town, City, and Clerk Associations, which I'm a member of that, so I would get the membership rate. It's just the MMA-sponsored ones, like your elected officials classes that we see, anything with labor law, employment law, personnel training that they put on through MMA, we would have to pay. I saw some classes right now, because we're a member, we'd pay $70. If we're not a member, it would go up to $190, but still it's nowhere near the $8,300. And lots of times, like the Public Works, they'll take their classes through the APWA, and they're members through that association, so they would pay the membership rate. I really don't know how many departments really take anything through MMA.
Since
Do you, Dennis?
Yeah, we use them a lot for the planning board.
So do you use the legal services too, through the plan?
Review, John Maloney primarily.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on that code, yeah, but use MMA for the training stuff and whatnot too, the same thing, reduce membership or training fees.
Right.
We do have a few coming up, but
So if you were to do away with this MMA, what we'd need to do is build in some more training money in the budget so that we'd have enough to cover. I mean, you can go online now and see what the rates are for a non-member. So we'd want to make sure we budgeted within the other departments. Obviously, we wouldn't have access to their legal services and some of the other things online. I still think you can go on and post a job posting if you wanted to, but I'm not sure.
I just know that our legal counsel, doesn't always coincide with MMA, and we hired Brandon Isaacson this year, and they seem to be pretty good. So I'm just wondering if we're getting what we should be from MMA for $8,300.
Do you use legal services, Dennis, down at MMA?
I mean, I think there's also a lot of lobbying functions they do in
There are.
terms of, keeping us informed of what's going on in the state and making sure we don't get screwed over by some of the unfunded mandates that have been pushed before by the legislature that, I know the MMA has done a good job in lobbying for towns to say, okay, guys, you got to be careful if you're going to mandate, bigger culvert sizes. That's a big expense to towns to build that whenever they rebuild roads. So, I think people forget about that aspect of it too.
Yeah, they advocate for the municipalities. That's what they're there for, on all the municipal issues. But
I'll have to have a look into it a little bit more.
Is there any other departments using them for training, other than, I know Dennis has been using, but
Marla?
Tax collector, town clerks. We also, it is.
That's that association, so you'd
Once
pay.
you belong to the membership, then you still get the membership rate for those.
For those classes, you have to look at and see who's sponsoring the class. If it's an MMA-sponsored class, you're gonna have to pay a lot higher rate.
Okay, we just use them for legal then, or for little small things.
Yeah. When you pay the membership fee, when you use their legal services department, you don't have to pay any additional money. It's a free service, just like using their personnel services.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna contract to do a hire or something. Or if you're gonna use them for union negotiations, you'd have to pay over and above the MMA service fee.
Is there any way to send out an email to the department heads and
I can.
kind of see
Yep.
how much they use them and just send us those responses in a summary?
Yeah, find out what type of services they use and.
Make sure they're not confusing MMA with another,
Yeah.
like Avcog or whatever, too.
Right, no, yeah. If we don't have access to their legal services department, which some of the departments do, then we'll have to call Dan Stockford, and he will have to be the voice in that. Then we just need to know that we'll probably need to budget a little bit more in legal to cover those costs.
It's usually a lot more expensive when we use our own lawyer than when we ask them for simple questions.
True.
They don't bill you the hourly rate of, $200 an hour.
Here's looking into.
Next one is 05500, general assistance. We merely took the contracted services of $10,000 and moved that up to director manager, because she really is supposed to be an employee, not a independent contractor. And then we budgeted the employee costs as well under here. And then the general assistance, we left the same, and postage and supplies are the same. I did contact her to see if we should leave the amount the same, and she said we should. And we get 50% back from the state. Anything we spend out on general assistance, we do get a reimbursement from the state.
Have we got paid yet for last year?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure, I'll have to check with Ed to see what's come in, because that's all done electronically. I know some payments have come in, everything's been billed to date.
Okay.
Next one is the county tax. The 5216 is our county tax bill. And the next item, 5217, is a PSAT fee of $18,018. That was under the police department budget, but it's something that we have to pay to the county for the tax, for the PSAT fee, so I just moved it under county. Now, this one you don't have, but you have it as number 24 in your budget, economic and community development. I moved it to I moved it back to where it was originally, Department 07, and I'll be giving you, the papers I gave out today will show you the 07, but if you want to look at the explanations, it's way at the end under 24. And Tracy can come up and talk about that. What I've done is I've budgeted the expense because it's a department of the town, and then I've showed the offsetting revenue of $94,256 on the revenue side.
Which comes from the TIF.
Right.
I know there's been some questions in regarding to AvCog. AvCog dues comes from my budget. So our membership to AvCog, which helps the planning board zoning, our salt bid comes from AvCog. That's our membership. But that, I pay for that out of my budget, so I'm able to pay for that.
Oh, good.
So that's a cost
Thank you
savings.
for sharing.
The other one that comes out of for memberships is also the main downtown network. Lisbon is a network community. That's $1,000 for that membership. That also comes out of my budget. That helps us, positions us as far as for any type of grant opportunities and getting some of those extra points. And the goal is to continue to work with the downtown businesses and get us a full Main Street designation. I'm not sure.
Then with the AdCog one, I don't see it separately on here.
That would all come under, as far as a membership. As part of the memberships, it's calculated in there. AvCog, I think, has always been kind of a separate line item. I don't know why it was,
So it's under 1522.
yeah, just under memberships and dues.
All right, thank you.
And I don't know if you've got any questions. The other service that we offer that's paid is under the, and it comes under the advertising, and that's usually about, I think about 1,500, 1,000 to 1,500, and that's for the Shop Lisbon. So when we go on the website, we offer this to all of the businesses in Lisbon, where they can go in and register their business. They can put in coupons, discounts, and then for anybody coming into the community, they can access that Shop Lisbon, and it would have like their own directory. And that's a free service, but that comes out of my budget.
Do you know how, can you monitor that to see the traffic? How, if traffic goes,
I can, basically, no, as far as I can look at the membership, you know, and for people who sign on to it, they get an automatic email that's generated to them. I could probably contact the Gov people themselves that put it together and see if there's a way of pulling that off, you know, as far as the hits is coming on. I know if there's new businesses that are logging in, it's because I have to go in and approve them. But I can certainly check to see if there's a way of doing that.
yeah, I'd be
if you'd
interested.
like.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's not a big deal, but I think it'd be interesting to know if there is a tracker somehow to see what the activity is.
Mm-hmm.
So Diane, just to be clear on this, I know I talked to you a little bit about it earlier, but just for the public as well. So we took it from the Economic Community Development budget, from just being funded by the TIF program, rolled it into the regular municipal budget. You put the TIF revenue in as an offsetting
Offsetting
revenue.
revenue,
So really, it's not doing anything to the budget. It's just showing. It's more documentation.
Exactly.
Okay.
More transparency.
Okay. That's what we want.
Plus, it's going to cut down a lot of journal entries that we have to do, transferring the money back and forth.
Council, have any comments or questions?
Now, how does that impact the TIF? Because I know we had to amend that TIF to, you know, move economic development in there. I want to make sure that we're not violating the rules of the TIF.
We're not, because the TIF funds are supposed to be, we can use it to pay the Economic and Community Development Department. I'm just moving it under the municipal budget and showing the offsetting revenue, instead of having it out there all by itself, and then the revenue coming in, and then we have to disperse it out to pay for all the expenses out of that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't run afoul of the TIF language anywhere.
No, it's laid out in the TIF,
Okay,
basically, as far as all the line items here is exactly laid out within the TIF to be able to spend it towards.
We are going to come back to you later on some proposals for how we're going to be doing the TIFs moving forward as far as commitment. So Tracy, Kathy, and I will be talking to you about that, so,
That'll be good.
yeah.
Good.
No other comments or questions? Thank you.
We did the abatements earlier, so we'll go to debt service. These are all our repurchase agreements. Under debt service, we moved them out of the individual departments, and we've created a department called debt service. And you'll notice at the bottom that says principal and interest, $273,050 and $63,950. Those have been moved to Department 10, 100, because they're bonds. So they've moved to the next budget over, 10-100. So we've kept the debt service separate from the bonds.
This isn't a big deal, but I wasn't sure in this system where you create the budget, if there's a possibility to make a note within a department that there is debt service related to that department. For example, in the Public Works Department, could you have a box at the bottom that says note and list what we have for debt service? So, we're going through the budget, we don't flip to debt service and leave the actual
Right, yep.
department.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want it to be included in the budget line, because I like how you've separated the budget line, but I think flipping through the budget book, it'd be easier if we could see, all right, Public Works is this, but at the bottom, we have this for outlying debt.
Yep.
I don't know if that's
Yeah,
impossible.
I can't do it through this system here, but I can do something for you.
I don't need it this year, but
Right,
maybe for
yep.
next year or something.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll be done very soon, so.
So that takes care of all of that. You want to move on to the wastewater treatment plant budget, and then after that, we can come back, and Ed and I want to talk to you about health insurance.
Does council have any comments or questions on debt service before we move forward? All right. Welcome back, Ryan.
Thank you. All right, doing the sewer budget earlier than we ever have, which is good, so we can get it all done at one time.
Yep.
Again, happy to answer any questions. I can just hit the highlights if you'd rather. There's, same as every other one, we've made some changes with all the wages and then the benefits. Professional development, we decreased a little bit just because we had a couple guys that are scheduled to take some classes that they've completed that work. Going down through, I don't have much for highlights. We haven't really changed a whole lot. We modified the electricity slightly down based on some anticipated savings. And professional services, we decreased to 10,000, which is what we budgeted for the last several years. We also decreased, bouncing around a little bit, but the CCTV and cleaning line, we actually held it the same. We decreased it last year. Sorry. Waste disposal, we increased slightly. That's for our sludge disposal. And some of the only real capital items that we're discussing this year is we have a grinder at the Davis Street pump station that's been out of service that we need to replace, and that's right around a $30,000 investment. That's an item that runs pretty much 24/7. And we also put $100,000 back in for sewer. It's just called sewer, but it's usually sewer replacements or improvements, and that's pending the outcome of the Oliver Associates sewer system evaluation that they're currently doing, and just a matter of notice, they will be out tonight, popping manholes, and all the ones that are painted orange all around town. Several crews, and sent our staff with them so they could get the experience of doing an infiltration flow test is what they're doing, basically to see where the water's running, after midnight when everyone's should be asleep. There shouldn't be much coming down the sewer pipe unless it's infiltration or, some pumps or whatnot. So this will help narrow down the areas of the system that they need to redouble their focus as we move forward. They were going to do it last night. The rain was a bit of an issue. And then the last couple items are meter reads and radio reads. And I guess Diane and I will both talk about this a little bit, but part of the cost sharing or truing up, or however you want to describe it, is the water department indicated that it'd be approximately $10,000 for us to contribute towards the meter reading process. And at the same time, they also asked about the sewer department participating in a meter changeout, which would allow them to I believe there to be a no-touch read. And asked Mr. Brunel if he can clarify that just for sure. But that was to do a certain amount of meter swap outs throughout the course of the year. And we threw in some numbers for a discussion point and trying to see what the council's input was on that aspect. And imagine that'll be something that we'll have to have further discussions on, but that's what those two items involve. I'm happy to go over anything that you'd like.
Regarding the 5445 sewer line, 100,000,
Yep.
what type of estimation did you use to come up with that number?
We've generally budgeted around $100,000 a year for pretty much the entire time I've been here to do sewer system repairs, replacements, lining, whatever. And we would budget more if we could, but this has worked out pretty well for us over the last 10 years or so. And without having a definitive plan from the sewer system evaluation, went back to the number that we'd used before. This was the number that was there a year before, I believe, and we'd ended up using a lot of it, and we ended up carrying it forward to perform the study instead.
Okay. Regarding the meter reading, I think that's appropriate to pay the water department for that service, as long as if we're providing services to them, they're going to pay us as well. And then to replace the meters, I remember sitting through some water commissioner meetings and talking about that, and I believe it already came to us and we set a green light for that.
Okay.
And we had a price point at that point of how much we were going to pay per meter. We actually voted on already.
For the radio read?
Yeah, but that's
Oh,
for the
really?
new system, right, that the water
Yep.
department's putting in? Yeah, that, we've already voted on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was with Mr. Olmsted. I can try to go through my files and see if I can find that paperwork. If you want.
Okay. Let me highlight that.
Was it a council meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we had a big picture of the actual meter, and it said how much it was going to cost, how much the town portion was, how much water department was, and it had a breakdown of how the process was going to work.
Was that like a one-time? Because I think in talking to Shelley, they may be doing it over a period of 3 years.
Oh, well, maybe that's a different process
That's
then.
right, which is why I budgeted that, because this amount will be like for 3 years. Or,
Yeah, they weren't gonna do it.
I
all
don't
at
think they're
once.
going to do it all at once. But let me check that, though.
So do you want me to still go through my stuff and see what I can find?
If we can't find it, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Yeah, it was gonna take a while to change all of
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What will this budget do to the sewer department rates for the users?
We haven't finalized I don't believe we've actually finalized the total revenue because of some of the changes we made throughout the budget process, but the anticipation is there will not be a sewer rate increase.
Okay. I remember last year, I was on vacation when the sewer department budget came forward, but I remember watching the video of the meeting, and there was some carry forward money and used for the study.
Mhm.
And I believe there was like some carry forward in other line items as well. Does all that money get spent?
We haven't spent everything at this point, and I guess I'd have to look back about the carry forwards. The one I recall is the money that we transferred for the study, but I'd have to see if there was.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. I was just wondering if you thought we would have more carry forwards this year, that's all.
Didn't anticipate it at this point.
Okay.
Carry forwards are going to be a thing of the past, from what I understand. So
They are going to be a thing in the past.
we weren't anticipating on that.
Any other comments or questions from council? No? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to talk about the medical insurance. As you know, you asked me to go and get a price from the Health Trust, Maine Municipal Employees Health Trust, and We currently have 46 lives on our health insurance plan, on our self-insured plan, which includes the wastewater and the water department. But they're not included in this budget here, figure. We raised this year $627,900 to pay for medical insurance claims and administration. So far to date, I've overexpended that by about $3,000. And in the employees payable account, we have right now about $27,000, which we have to make a payment, have a payment come out of that, about $11,000. And then I want to use $3,000 to get this other account back into the black. Anything further is going to have to come out of our reserves if we still have more claims coming in that are higher than the premiums that we're collecting. This isn't a good situation for us to be in a self-insured plan with only 46 lives. So I did really quick with the MMA rates. If we went back to the POS 200 plan, that's the plan you were in before you went to be self-insured. At the current rates that they're at, that they have right now for this year that will end in December, on the current employee ratio that we have on the type of plan that they have, whether it's family or single, we're looking at about $535,000 worth of premiums. And there's no risk to the town because it's a pooled plan. So, I mean, that's all you would be paying. We would have to increase that a little bit because from January to June of next year, that's when they have their rate increases, so we'd want to build something else in. That would get you out of the risk factor. Really, when you're looking at the premiums that were set for this year, it should be well under the $600,000, but I know that more was raised to go towards reserves for higher claims. That's the only explanation I can come up with, because when I look at the premiums that have been set and you multiply it out, it comes to, we're raising about $59,000 more in this budget we're in right now than what the rates were set at. So I can only believe that that went towards the reserve. But it's probably a good thing that that happened this year because now we've spent it. Ultra Benefits, we met with them last week, and they are looking at a fully insured plan for us, but I don't believe that they're going to come in with anything attractive because we'd be all on our own in a fully insured plan, and the risk would be on whoever's providing the insurance to us. So you know damn well that they're going to be charging us enough to cover the claims. Ed, do you want to say any more about this? Ed was in with the meeting, and he can talk about the risk a little bit. He and I happen to agree on this. I think, you know, back when you made the change, you might have saved some money the first year, but now that's catching up with us.
Yeah, I fully concur with where Diane is with this. As I take a look at self-insurance, my experience has been unless you have sufficient number of lives to spread the risk over, it tends to be very expensive. And the fact that we have to reserve becomes expensive for the town because not only do you have the ongoing pay-as-you-go expense for the cost of third-party administrator paying the claims, but your balance sheet is also affected by the fact that you have to maintain a reasonable amount in reserve to pay for claims. One of the things that struck me about the plan that we have is that while well-intended, we would have to really have a number of catastrophic losses in order to achieve the stop-loss insurance. You could run into a situation where we have an unusual year where we have a number of people who are sick, have a number of claims that become very expensive, but in total, we don't reach the point of tapping into the stop-loss insurance. And it could be that we would have to come back to council, ask for more money. So I think where we benefit is that we have a predictable cost of premium each year that we come to the council with, and The way the MMA would work is in the pooled environment, our risk of our 46 to 50 people who are on insurance would become part of the overall group. Premiums would be steady depending upon the experience of the total plan and of the town of Lisbon. We would either receive a dividend at the end of the year based on our experience, or, our rates may go up depending upon experience. But the good thing is, the way insurance typically works, we have over, under as time goes on. Hopefully, we'd earn enough dividend to help offset any increase in a subsequent year.
I just want to say, we don't give out, the Health Trust doesn't give out dividends.
It does not.
No, it does not. No.
So they plow it back into the plan immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's even a better
Yeah.
way to go, which is, so I fully agree. I think predictability for the council is a good thing. Once we understand what the run out on the claims will be, perhaps there may be some amount of money that can be returned back to the unappropriated surplus of the town.
Thank you very much. Council, have any questions for Ed while he's up? See none, thank you very much.
So if you think that we really need to go, I really think we need to go in this direction. So my next steps would be to meet with the unions because of the contractual language. Certainly you can pull the non-union out and put them with the Health Trust, not a problem. But the unions, we do have to sit down at the bargaining table and explain what we want to do. So that would be my next step in the process. If that's where you want me to go, that's where I'll go.
I think so.
This has been another bone of contention with me for a while. I've been really nervous being self-insured, and I think it's our option to get out while we can.
How long have we been self-insured?
Not very long.
Year before I got on the council, I believe.
Like 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years.
That's it?
Yes.
I think it was Mike's last year.
Ain't working.
It's not enough lives, there's not enough employees to.
So we would need to raise $535,000 at the rates we had for the end in December. How much would you budget in addition, for the new rates coming on in January?
I would take 6 months and budget another 8%. I'll figure out what that is.
Okay.
You've got enough in this budget right now to cover, just say we had those rates all year long. So I'm just going to have to figure out the difference of 8% for 6 months.
Okay. Can you just send that in your
Yep, I can.
summary email as well?
Yep.
Yeah, I think council have any objection with moving forward with this?
The other thing we're going to do is we're going to bring back to you probably first meeting, well, probably not the first, maybe the second meeting in May, is the going to a fully insured dental plan. We did get some prices from Ultra Benefits. We checked with the Health Trust, and Ultra Benefits had better plans and better rates for the dental through Delta Dental. So I think that's where we're going to be making a recommendation. No cost to the town on this. This is fully the responsibility of the employees. And again, the town is not supposed to be paying anything, but you are right now. You're paying administrative costs on dental, and you're paying anything that the employee's not covering the claims with their premiums. If anything over and above their premiums, that claims are coming in, the town is paying for that, even though you're not supposed to be contributing to dental insurance, but because you're in a self-insured plan, that's what happens. So we're going to go to a fully insured, not going to have any risk, you're not going to be paying any portion of it, and the employees will just be paying the premium. No risk.
How much of a savings will that be, with not paying?
It's all rolled into your health
So it's all rolled
plan,
into one line?
So what's coming out of the medical insurance is even your dental claims.
Okay, perfect.
So you'll be saving the administrative costs. I'm not sure what that is, but I haven't drilled it down that far. But
How long do you think it would be, you get the green light tonight, as you do, before you can sit down with the unions?
I plan to do that next week if I can get them together.
Okay.
I'll talk to the department heads and see about
Okay.
getting into contact with the union officials and the shop stewards.
Okay, good. All right. Next one,
I think
please.
that's it.
All right. So we'll go back to police. All right. So I think where we left off with the police department, if I'm not mistaken, we had discussion about filling the sergeant position, on how we wanted to go amongst doing that. Diane, have you and the chief had any other conversation on how that process could work?
We talked a while back, and we both agreed that we felt, well, I'll speak for myself. I felt it would be better to fill the sergeant's position, because I think you need to have that level on the night shift. And then if you did anything to just, if you did promote from within, it's just not to fill the lower vacancy. The entry-level police officer with the benefits comes to $56,386. That's with a single insurance plan. I don't think that was with the family.
Can you repeat that one more time?
$56,386.
86.
And the entry-level sergeant's position with benefits is $84,271. So there's a difference of $27,884. When we looked at that spreadsheet earlier, we didn't have any insurance built in for the vacant sergeant's position, so that's why there's a difference. Now we've got the family plan built in there.
Okay. Well, my thought is we have a open sergeant position, and if the administration thinks that we need to fill the sergeant position for coverage, we'd go from not filling the sergeant position, have the savings of 84,000, to filling it and have a savings of 56,000. I would like to see the administration go back and try to find an additional, what would that be, $44,000 to come up with $100,000 savings completely out of the police department. And if the administration then decides that they don't want to fill the sergeant position, then they can find a $16,000 savings to still meet a $100,000 goal savings out of the police department. And I don't know if you could use forfeiture funds to help offset different things within the department. If not, but I would like to see that option explored a little more. I'm not sure what anybody else thinks, but that was my thought going through. What was that? Can't use forfeiture funds?
Not for staff costs, no.
Well, I know not staff costs, but
But it's, yeah, it gets kind of,
it gets very tricky
gets very
because
sticky there. if I remember
stuff is
correctly.
tied to it. So
Can't use it for anything that's already budgeted.
Right.
that's the point I don't agree with. You know, if it's not, you can't use it because it has been budgeted and then we take it out. Well, the department would still benefit if we're
Can't do it.
not going. Oh, I agree with you that we can't do it, but I don't agree with their rules. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well.
But they're going to stop paying forfeiture funds at all now. They've basically cut it off, from what I understand, that the feds will not reimburse
gonna
towns
keep
at all. They keep it all for themselves going forward.
So, I would like to see $100,000 savings, one way or the other, with not filling one of the positions.
When do we expect to have the study back?
They've got, I don't know if they've got all the information, but I sent out an email yesterday, and he responded back today that they're reviewing the information now, and then they're going to get together, and then he's going to send me a timeline on when he thinks it's going to be complete.
Okay. But he doesn't have anything of, roughly 2, 3, 4 months.
Oh, no, it won't take that long. I hope within the next month we'll have
Okay.
something. I shouldn't say it shouldn't take that long, but I don't expect it to.
Well, that's my thought on the police department. So, do we have anything else before we move on? No.
Well, I hear from the chief.
didn't hear from the chief. We heard from the chief last time.
We already,
Oh, you heard from,
Yeah,
had
we already went
budget.
through the department.
So, when you say police, you mean just the police budget? You
Yeah.
don't mean anything else after it, like animal control?
No, I mean, those are,
communications, just
those
the
are separate,
police?
and
Okay,
communications we're on to next, which could be another topic.
okay.
But that's what I would like to see. I would like to see what that reduction would look like. I know it's a stiff climb, but I don't think it can hurt to see it. My only thought. Since we have an option now, but that's my personal thought. Anything else we move on? No? All right. Animal control.
We did receive a letter from Durham, and they are going to be hiring their own animal control officer, so we will be losing that revenue. It's a little bit over $8,000 a year for animal control officer from Durham. And I've already updated my revenue sheets to reflect that.
Okay. Do you know if they've already hired somebody?
I believe they went through the process, and they have, but I don't know who it is,
Okay.
unless the chief knows who it is. I don't.
Do you know who it is, Chief? Okay. Any other comments or questions on animal control? And the other one we left off was communications. Diane, our chief, do one of you guys want to go over the letters we received back?
I'll let the chief go over.
Okay. If I can find mine. These mine or these yours? Good evening. I'm just trying to find my letters here. Okay. Just want to go over the letters we got back from Androscoggin and LA.
Well, LA's pretty short. You can see her response was she wanted to know what the timeline was, and she couldn't do anything until she spoke with her committee. The sheriff's was rather lengthy, and he said that his console is capable of adding frequencies. He went on to say that we'd probably likely need to add personnel to cover because of the increased workload we would create for them. However, he failed to mention many other items that I don't know if you had the opportunity to read my response to him. And this is far more than just adding a frequency to a console. And he did not address any of the other infrastructure needs that need to be addressed. So he and I will be communicating again, I'm sure, after he receives my reply.
Okay.
I did communicate with the, if you read my letter, with the radio service provider that provides a service both Lisbon, Androscoggin, and LA 911. It's the same company. And I posed that question to him, if those facilities were capable of taking on our needs with their current infrastructure set up, and his answer was no. I believe I told you that, but that's okay. Now somebody else is. There's a lot of things that has to be done in order to unplug and then replug in, and it's more than just a console. I don't know if you've been following LA 911, but again, it was not too long ago where the director over there approached the Twin Cities and said they needed a $2 million increase to their infrastructure. That one of the reasons is their current consoles are outdated Motorola units that are no longer supported by Motorola. So that's a problem. I see in, I think it was just today's paper, where they're cutting back on personnel at the LA Comm Center in order to bring it down to Auburn's 1.8% cap. So they have issues over there. The county, I'm not even going to try to explain what the county's doing. What I do know is that, as posed to them, are they capable of taking on our service with their current infrastructure that they have in place today? They cannot do it. And that's per the radio service provider for all three locales.
Going back to the LA 911 response from Phyllis Gamache, I believe is her name.
Mm-hmm.
Did she give you a timeline of anything, of when they would be meeting?
No, well, no, she didn't. And she asked if I had a timeline here, and I told her I didn't have a timeline.
Okay.
I haven't been given a timeline, so I didn't see any reason to give a large response to her, as you can see what she sent to us. She said she had to go before their committee to even talk about it.
My other question on LA 911 was, in quotes here in her first paragraph, she put the services provided by the Lisbon Comm Center. Is she assuming that if Lisbon was to go to LA 911, that the towns we also service would follow us? Is that what she's assuming?
Sorry, say that again, Dylan?
In her first paragraph, she puts, quotes, the services provided by the Lisbon Comm Center. So is she assuming that Durham, Sabattis, and
I was
Green would
very
come
clear
with
in my
us?
letter to both of them.
I didn't see your letter, so I'm not
Oh,
sure.
Well, I was very clear in my letter to both of those centers that I was only speaking for Lisbon.
Okay,
Lisbon services only. I was not in a position to speak for the other communities.
okay.
Probably
And I think you'll note the sheriff,
assuming if we shut down, they gotta go somewhere.
But at this point in time, they're not capable of taking us, correct?
Well, she doesn't have an
She
answer.
doesn't say.
She's going to meet with her committee. But my only concern here is with her quote,
Thankfully, non-responsive.
the services provided by the Lisbon Comm Center, because the service that we provide here is a great service to Lisbon and the other communities, and who knows where those communities would go if Lisbon didn't have our comm center anymore. So I don't know if she's assuming that they're going to follow if it was to happen. I don't know that. So that's a question that I have written down.
well,
here.
that was not the question that was posed to her. The only query that was sent to her was Lisbon only. It was
Okay.
very clear, and I think you'll note in the sheriff's response, he even comments on that.
We'll go to the sheriff response then.
Chief, one question. Services we provide to Durham and Green are just fire for Durham and Green?
Fire and their rescues.
Fire and EMS, okay.
Okay. Hopefully when we get that response from LA 911, that can be sent over to us so we can see that as well. Regarding the Androscoggin County Sheriff's, actually, does anybody have any other questions from LA 911 before we move forward? Okay. For the Androscoggin County Sheriff, I noted in here that, let me find it again. He says, as you are aware with the amount of agencies you are providing service to, staffing levels may be addressed and considered for the Androscoggin Communication Center during peak times. So once again, in the beginning of his letter, he stated that only Lisbon, but here in this paragraph, he's referencing again that the other agencies as well. So I'm also confused if he thinks other communities would go with us or if we're going by ourselves.
He says right here, I do understand that you cannot represent the other communities.
And see this one as well, up here, starts here, he contradicts, so I'm confused as well. I definitely think that maybe getting a letter from the radio company or sitting down with the sheriff or something and figuring out, because if he says that they can take us, you say they can't, the radio company says they can't, is concerning to me. But also just briefly before the meeting tonight, when I got to see these, I briefly ran the numbers.
If you read the sheriff's letter, you would note that he only talks about adding a frequency to his console.
Correct.
Speaks on no other infrastructure need whatsoever, nothing.
Well, I saw that, and he also said in there that they were going through the process of addressing it, and I don't know what that means. But I think it's important, personally speaking, that this letter is explored a little more to see exactly what he's talking about, see where the miscommunication is, and the infrastructure and only adding a frequency, because this letter that he provides here with the fee schedule is definitely concerning to me. If I ran the numbers correctly, if we took the communications department budget and of $339,000, we took away $70,000 for dispatch revenue we currently receive. It put us at a $287,000 tax roll, and then if you take away the $95,886 that he says they would charge us per their fee schedule for dispatch and services, that would leave a savings to us of $191,000. So my question is, for $191,000, if that is correct information, what type of infrastructure would we have to help with to build that, or what type of project is there? Is it just a switch? Is it not? That's my question. That's my question that I have. And then I also went a little bit further to look at the revenue that we get from Durham, Sabattis, and Green. If we only get $70,243, and then I looked at the county's fee schedule, if we use their fee schedule to charge Durham, Sabattis, and Green, we would receive $113,000 in revenue. So I'm wondering how...
It's not accurate. I don't know where you're getting your numbers.
No.
What I did was I took the $615 for the PD service, and
Durham and Green don't have PD.
nope, that's not the correct one I did. Let me find the correct one. Where is it? I have it here somewhere. Somebody wants to continue while I'm looking. If you have any questions, go ahead. I did it in my car on the way here.
Distracted driving.
No, I
think
pulled
I
over
asked you-
J.N.S. and Thompson when I got the email.
I think we asked before, Chief, is it, would these other communities be willing to pay any more than they are now? Or are they maxed out where we're at?
Well, I don't think that's fair to ask that question of me. I do know that Sabattis was willing to sit down to discuss the fees. However, they weren't given the opportunity to have that discussion.
What did I do with? I don't know what I did with it now. Not in there. Well, I'm gonna do the numbers real quick then, since I can't find my other sheet. 206. So if my numbers that I just did serve me correct then, if we did Sabattis, Green, and Durham at the rate that the county charges, it'd be $62,772. You have different numbers? What do you have?
I've got them. The numbers I have are just less, a little bit less for them to go to the county than what they pay us, is what I came up with. Because you gotta remember, the only ones that we do PD for is Sabattis.
Yeah, so
The other
So-
two would be $2.50 per capita, would be $2.50. The other would be, add the $6.15.
so what is your total? Because my total for them to go to the county would be $62,672.
Well, just for Sabattis, I've got 42.
42.
Yeah, it's 45.
Yep, 42,117. Okay, so our numbers are correlating now.
Yeah.
And then for Green, it'd be 10,875.
Sounds about right,
And then Durham would be 9,620.
which is a little bit under what we charge them at the moment.
So how does our fee schedule work? How do we charge them?
That fee schedule you're looking at, that Androscoggin charges, was our fee schedule when we started. They didn't know how to create a fee schedule, so they took ours. Very simple. And if you had attended any of the dozens and dozens and dozens of meetings that took place with the other towns, you would have realized that Androscoggin likes to use what other people do for their homework.
I wasn't involved
So
in
they
town
did
politics
use
then.
our fee schedule that we started to use initially. Since then, we've been increasing it by a percentage over the years. And I believe this coming budget year, we're looking at 3% because the contract allows for a 3% max. That's the difference. So yes, the towns are paying us more than what they would have to be paying if they went to Androscoggin. But these towns have made it very clear they don't want to go to Androscoggin.
Right, they like the service they get.
And if we had the
course they
capability,
do.
we'd have more towns in here, but we don't have the capability of having Mechanic Falls and Livermore Falls in here.
Of course they like the service. The team over there does a good job. There's no question about that, you know? Of course they don't want to go to Androscoggin County. Do you think we're going to get the same service if we went there? Absolutely not. So to me, I think if they want to stay in Lisbon, I bet I would think they'd pay more, is my only thought. And I didn't go to the meetings when this process started because I wasn't in town politics then. I was still watching cartoons. So that's how I thought about it. And in regards to the Andrew's email to me from Sabatis wanting a meeting, his email never addressed that he wants to talk about fees. He wanted to talk about the direction the town council gave to look at getting a response from other communities. So I don't know what he told you, but he never made that clear in his email. And it was not mature to have a meeting at that point because we were simply seeking proposals. We weren't going anywhere with this yet. So I think he jumped to conclusions real quick. My thought on this process, it's a tricky one, but I think that I would like to see the administration figure out where the disconnect is and why the sheriff says that it's a frequency change. They could take us on. Chief Brooks says they can't. The radio guy says they can't. I'd like to see something worked out more on this, because if this number is correct on what we could save, that's a substantial amount of money. And when we're looking at budgets, I think everything is up for fair game. I don't think we can dismiss this until we have everything, cross our T's and dot our I's. I don't think we can. And I think that's something that we would need to move quick on, because if decided that something like this would work, we need to give other communities a fair notice, which is 6 months. So if this happened, I don't even think this could happen before next January, if we gave them a 6-month notice at July 1. So I would like to see the administration focus on this a little more. That's my 2 cents on leaving off on the communication center.
May I say something?
Sure.
Do you think the guy would, would give you a statement?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Would you think the guy would give you a statement, the person that does your service work, stating?
I haven't talked to him about that. I don't know. I think it's rather unfair to be throwing him under the bus the way it's happened anyway, because he has to deal with all three
He works with the
comm
others.
centers.
Yeah.
And to be pitting him one against the other, that's like going from one flooring company to another flooring company and pitting those two installers against each other to get the best price.
I will say, and that it's for what it's worth, I know who it is you're talking about, 'cause he's a personal friend of mine, we went to school together, the one that does,
Really?
and he told me the same thing.
Really?
So, I'm just saying I can vouch for what you're saying, 'cause he told me the same thing, just recently.
Been fighting this battle for
This is
nearly
just
10
recent.
years.
I'm just saying, I just.
Getting ready to start it again, and now I'm hearing you already know this because the guy in the know has said
I
it.
said I just recently found this out from talking to him.
So you don't think we should look at it any further to get
Oh,
clarification?
I think it just, for peace of mind, people, I mean, you, like I said, he can't, just what you said, he can't go one against the other, so his word is just his word. I'm just saying, I heard that from him.
So what you want us to do then is to figure out, they probably have a meeting and figure out what, just say they were to take us on, what they would have to do. And obviously, it sounds to me like the sheriff doesn't understand that there might be something more that needs to be done with his
That's what it sounds like.
communication system, so it might be good to just sit down and have a discussion on that and find out what they need to do. I mean,
I think we should remember the sheriff just took over a few months ago here. This is
Yeah.
a new sheriff who is just
He
learning
was
the
on the
system.
department.
He was on the
with us.
department. you
He
know
was
that,
also
yes.
the chief deputy for a short time, so he's, should have some
So maybe that's-
knowledge there.
And our equipment is as good as theirs, if not better.
I bet it's better, to be honest with you.
They copied our specs. They have the same consoles we have. They did that after we bought ours, just like they took our fee structure.
They're just following the leader of the pack, I guess, right?
Right.
So that's, I would like to see it investigated more. I know this is now going to be, it's available to the public. Public's going to see this. They're going to have a lot of questions, and we're going to need answers.
We don't
So,
want to get stuck either, where they're gonna give us a set rate and then
That's right.
jack it up once,
That's
I mean,
right.
then we're stuck.
I mean, I definitely think we would need to go after a contract.
It'd have
Yeah.
to be a long contract.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Chief, you said they have basically the same system we do, correct?
Their consoles,
Consoles are the same thing?
same model.
And how many more towns could we handle here above what you have right now?
As far as console capability, I could probably bring in a couple of more towns, but the problem is not the console, it's the personnel.
Have to have more people
We need
there.
we need to put the people in the chair. Right now, we don't fill that second chair full-time, we only fill it for 40 hours.
Okay.
Originally, Livermore Falls and Mechanic Falls wanted to come here, and we couldn't bring them because we would have had to add the man-hours to do it.
Thank you.
So where is the council? Do we want to have Diane and the chief go back and ask these, some questions and get some clarification? Or do we want to kill it, not waste their time? Because I do know that, I want to see it done, but if it's not support of the council to have it done, there's no sense in, for them to investigate it, no sense, wasting more conversation talking about it.
Well, if we went and investigated it a little more, at least we would know,
Would know the information.
would have it, and that would negate the naysayers, maybe? Or we'd have to swallow our pride.
Yep. One or the other. What do you think, Eric?
I think the same thing. I think once they do look into it further, they're gonna find out just what his guy told them, that they're not gonna be able to handle it, and it's not gonna work, but just to prove to everybody that it isn't, I think we need that information.
Mark?
Yeah, I think it's worth to at least have a sit-down meeting and just hash it out. And if they really can't do it, and you can bring up, reasons why, then I'd like to see that.
Okay. Greg?
Same.
Dale? Chris?
Yes.
All right, Diane, Chief Brooks, you have the green light. Please look into this and get us some information back on it, on what you find. Any other comments or questions on police, communications, or animal control? Oh, you have Chief Brooks. All right, thank you. And now we're going to jump to Public Works, is that right? We left off on Public Works last time?
Let me get my thing here.
I can never find it in here. Public Works is the worst one to find.
3-305.
There we go.
What color is it?
Go by mine.
Is it pink?
Yeah.
Pink?
It's light blue, or like a purplish right here.
the colors are all
Oh.
different.
Mine's
They're all
orange.
different in all the books. Is that why some people
That's
are
why
doing the
we're all
same thing?
confused.
Well, mine is
color.
03305, and it's like a, well,
Yeah, I got the
Whoever
same
did this
number,
needs a
just different
disciplinary
color.
letter issued to them.
still should all be the same though, too.
There it is, mine's yellow.
Yeah, we got all kinds of different colors.
All right.
Color's yours.
I don't know.
Diane, I can,
I'm gonna simple use
I'm gonna run down through this myself and tell you where we found the cuts, and if you and Ryan want to sit down afterwards and try to do it a different way, that would be fine with us. But I've got everything right here, so I can just read it off to you, and we'll go from there. For 5335 tree maintenance, we allocated 2,500. 5440,
Wait a minute. So you're way at 5335, how much
Yep.
did you say?
2,500.
2,500, okay.
5440 road maintenance, 10,000. One employee, $48,000.
Which line is this? Here. I lost track of where you were.
I don't, I just got one employee.
On which line are we talking about, Roger?
He's not, because it's gonna,
No, I've got it, I'm
Well,
reading it
I'm
off.
trying to understand how
Yeah.
you're changing the budget, Roger. I don't understand that.
Okay, I'll just give you, it was, let's say, driver operator 4 or driver operator 3. That's how I picked it.
so you,
30
So that would be
so when, let me just clarify this. When you say 48,000, you mean employee and
Wages.
benefits, right?
So you add the benefits that comes up around.
So that's
Yes,
gonna
it'd be
affect
around
multiple
40.
lines.
Yeah.
Right.
Equipment, and that line is 5410. 20,000. Small tools, 5370.
What was 5410?
Equipment.
10?
10,000, so you reduce that by half?
Small tools, that's 5370. That's where we took 65,000, 6,500 out of that.
You put that to 1,000?
Yep. Equipment paint, 5348. We took
I have can I have a question on that real
Yeah.
quick? I'm confused on that line item of what exactly that's for. I know in here it mentions sandblasting of some sort.
the frames and the bodies and stuff.
Is that, where does that go, Ryan?
Last year, the low bidder was Darren La Rochelle out of Durham.
And they take the body off of the frame and they lift it up and spray for rust and stuff, or?
They do as much sandblasting as they can with the body, because, I mean, we're not stripping the trucks down to nothing. We're still have to leave majority of the equipment on there. The dump trucks, they'll raise the body, they'll sandblast the frame, the underside of the body, everything that they can, and then he paints it.
Okay, thank you. That was, okay, I got it.
Okay?
So what do you have for that?
Okay, I get equipment paint, 5348. We took 7,000 out of that.
Oh, my stupid watch.
And then for Winter Public Works, equipment again, 5410.
We're at Public Works now?
Winter.
Winter, okay.
$54.10, we took 10,000 out of that.
So you go to 0.
And supplies and parts, 53.90. We took 5,000 out of that.
I had a question on the 5410 line.
Yep.
That, let me actually refresh my memory. 5410.
Wings and plows, I believe.
Yeah, Ryan, that was, you talked about the wings and plows. What plow or wings did you want to replace?
There was one pickup plow that was bought used, that probably never should have been bought in that condition.
Okay.
To be replaced, as well as, we still have several dustpans and wings that are probably original to 1975, but that's just comment, I don't know if that's true. I don't want to verify how old they actually are, but they're.
So I shouldn't quote you, right?
No. those-
Okay.
but they are
I'll cross the quotes out. Those wings, I think you called them dustpan and wings from 1975, are they in working condition? And you just want to upgrade them, or what's the problem with them?
Yeah, I mean, some of them are bent and worn, I mean, everything's more stuff is worn out down there than is not. You go to hang a headgear, and you've got holes that are all legged out and everything else from just the years that they've been there. I mean, some of those have been on 2 different trucks. They were recycled the last time they were put on a truck, so. We're trying to maintain the equipment we have and try to improve it when we can. That's what we've been neglected for quite a while. We're trying to turn the corner.
And I know that my first year on the council, we bought more plow, I think a new plow or something of that nature. If new plows and wings aren't bought this year, are we going to be okay for the winter?
The one pickup plow should definitely be replaced, and that's probably gonna run you $5,000.
Okay. And could that be bought under maybe the supply parts line, 5390? Is there enough there?
I'd have to get that to you, but you're gonna probably spend at least $5,000 just on cutting edges.
Okay.
I'd wanna verify how much we spent this year. I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
Well, if we have, it says parts, cutting edges for plows, and routine maintenance of winter equipment, so
That sidewalk snowblower is one of those items that,
It's always broken.
the pain in the neck,
it's every hour.
the pain in the neck one, right?
You got it.
Well, I think if we could get by this year without buying any plows, I think that'd be good. But if we have to buy one for the pickup truck, then I think we could find it somewhere here. Let me look. What did you say for 5390? What did you want to bring it down to?
5,000.
Bring it down 5,000, so it'd be to 10?
No, we talked about it, brought it down to $5,000.
No, that's
Take
not
it
the one
10
I,
out.
that's not the one I know I have here. Let me look.
Anyway, we left ourselves some wiggle room anyways.
Which one did you bring down to 5,000?
Oh, here it is.
5390.
390.
Where's that on your list?
Let's take
Oh,
10,000.
it's, so you're gonna remove 45,000 from it?
No, there's only 15 there.
In Public Works winter?
Yes, Public Works.
There's
went
50,
On
this
winter.
5390 has $50,000.
In Public Works winter, Diane, you jumped
Works
from
Oh, you're in winter?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We jumped to winter.
Sorry.
So the 5390
Oh,
up
is that
in the
much in
Public Works is gonna stay at 50 then?
Yeah.
53.
Question, the regular public works for 5440 road improvements,
Supplies, parts.
what does that cover?
Generally, it's to be used for rebuilding sidewalks. The last couple of years, we've had to use it to
Why had-
offset the trail project.
Which we shouldn't have to this year,
I have,
Nope.
so we can actually
I
repair
think we
the
should minus
sidewalks
5 out.
today.
5,
Sidewalks.
take out 5 and
How far
put it
can
at
you go
10.
with half that budget?
It should be down here for print.
Yeah, that will.
I couldn't answer that.
What if,
myself.
10.
I'd have to get back to you.
what
I
if
need
it-
some help here because I was still up in Public Works. I didn't realize we were down in the winter, so.
Well, winter is only 2 items.
okay,
So
so
which ones?
I would suggest then, since the plow, I was just 5390 goes from 15,000 to 5 to 10,000. We buy the plow under that line item, and we get rid of 5410, the equipment line, and not buy any wings or dustpans, if I have my notes here right.
Well, that's where the plow would come from, would be that.
Why don't we just reduce that one to 5,000 and leave the money in there
Okay.
for the plow in that line?
Sure.
I mean, we're gonna probably have to buy some plows next year if we put it off this year. It's not, they're not gonna get any newer. Those plows are older than I am.
So you could,
So,
Which lines of
Get
cutting
all,
blades come out?
the 2 Public Works, the winter ones? The 5410,
okay, tell me what that is.
so 5410, Mark just said we could put that to 5,000.
Okay, yeah, and then the other one, 5390,
yeah.
at how much?
All right.
5390, well, if we take that one, I think,
What'd you say, Mike? 10, put that one up to 10?
Put that at 10.
And then
Okay.
Okay,
So 5410 is gonna be 5, and 5390 will be 10.
right.
okay. All right, let me make that my note.
I'm assuming you guys had a ballpark number you're looking for?
You know, the way we had it was $109,000 with $9,000 wiggle room.
Why
So
not
we
just have them take
10.
10,000 or 100,000 out of it and come back to us with what their suggestions are? Since
Yeah,
they're the
that-
experts, not us.
Yeah.
That would be,
That's.
So is that what you're trying to do, is get to 100,000?
Yeah. And I don't really, you know, it would be if you get 100,000 out of it, and whichever way, that's why I said if you and Ryan work together and get 100,000 out of it, be fine.
Out of the two
Out of
budgets
the-
or out of the one?
Out of the two budgets?
Out of two, yeah.
Two.
50,000.
Kind of have issues with taking specifically out of 5440, considering the way the roads look and the sidewalks look right now. They need all the help they can get.
54, so you're going back to Public Works now?
That's back to
All
public.
right, let me switch my tab here. 5440. So my note I have here on 5440 was a note that I made when I was reviewing my notes from our last council meeting when we gave additional money to go towards the trail. And Ryan has stated that's typically for sidewalks, or they have been using it for, I think you said a road last year or something by Public Works, I believe. And then this year we haven't used it, so we could use it for the sidewalk trail match with AvCog, correct?
That's what we used it out of this year. The last one, the last sidewalk we built, if the money wasn't used for the trail, the last sidewalk we built was 196 from the Getty Station to Kelly Park.
Okay.
That was done in conjunction with the DOT project, and that's the line that funded that project.
Okay.
I'd have to look back at last year, because I can't, not sure what you're talking about.
So this year we didn't use that line item, and we put it in for the sidewalk on the trail, or the match for the trail, I should say.
Correct.
Okay. Match for trail. Is there a certain, I know a lot of the sidewalks need help, but is there a certain sidewalk that you had earmarked for this money?
We've talked about Ferry Road for quite a while. We've also talked, because Davis Street is such a priority,
Mm-hmm.
we also talked about installing the sidewalk on Davis Street. Ferry was the last one that we were supposed to do.
Didn't we put the money in the sidewalk for the Davis Street? It's already there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was part of the additional money we appropriated for the
Funds.
trail.
There was not enough to do that. That's what we talked about, and that's why the whole point, that budget ended up going over, and there's not enough money to do the Davis Street sidewalk out of the trail.
That's good to know. Okay.
I think we need some clarification on what happened there with that. I'm a little confused.
Yeah,
about
me
where that
too.
went. I think we're all kind of on a different page there about what happened there.
'Cause my thought, I mean, I don't think it's a conversation for tonight because we're in this, but I think we need to get that cleared up because I thought we would specifically come back and ask for additional money that we use as a match, and that was gonna be used as a match for the CDBG grant,
That money is
but it
still
was gonna be earmarked for the
Still
sidewalk.
there.
That money is still there. That's not the part I'm talking about. That money, there's still $20,000 for match for the CDBG funds.
Mhm.
That hasn't been touched. When we originally went for, the last time it came for a budget increase, we had anticipated being able to construct the sidewalk on Davis Street from the end of the trail to the point that then the CDBG funds would kick in.
Mhm.
After we got done all the final quantity stuff, there was not enough money to be able to build the sidewalk from there to the CDBG money. But we budgeted to do at least the Filterra portion of it, which is the most expensive part of the section from where the trail stops to where the CDBG funds would kick in. And there's still a possibility that the $20,000 that was earmarked from basically the pump station to 196 may be sufficient funds to be able to make it from the end of the trail to the pump station. I mean, to the 196 project, especially if we were to build it in-house and not send it out to bid.
So in a sense, we didn't have enough money for it, so didn't get it done. So if that's the case, we can possibly do it in-house, then I wouldn't be opposed to taking the 5440 under Public Works, that sidewalk line, and putting it to zero. If we think we can get it done in-house, we'll still get the trail completed, but that's my thought on that.
Well, basically, the way I look at it, you've got a basic outline here. If you and Ryan can work at it to come up with what we want, I don't see a problem. There might be a different way you can do it.
So even if we do it in-house, you're gonna need money for hot top and gravel and that kind of stuff, so it's not gonna be free.
Right, you said
So-
that labor.
But it would be
In
a
our
heck of a lot
reduction-
cheaper.
Would be
in
cheaper,
our
but-
reduction, we still have $9,000 to play with.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking you really need to find out what it would cost you to do it in-house before you put it to zero. You wanna build half a sidewalk to nowhere.
Clarify the 9,000, may I ask?
Yeah, well, just when we added it, the way with the figures where for Public Works, we had 94,000, and for, Winter Public Works, we had 15,000. Add them up, it was 109,
But you're only asking for
for 100.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's
You know,
fine.
and basically, we even discussed, Ryan, and, if you had to have something that we didn't think you had to have, there's a possibility of another employee.
I agree with what Greg said, is let Ryan and Diane work it out, and as long as they come up with a number we're looking for,
Yeah.
wherever it comes
And
from.
that's fine.
One of the things that I really want to see gone is 5410, the equipment line under Public Works. I don't think we need to buy an excavator or anything this year. So I would definitely like to see that one gone, for sure. We took that one out last year as well. Let's see what else I have in my notes here. Going back to the small tools, the 5370 line. I'm a little concerned on if Public Works, I know everything down there is dated from 1975, but if they actually need the tools, or if they just want the tools for upgrade because when they were at Longchamps. Are the tools broke, or do they want upgrade?
I think the thing to do, well, if you look at their toolboxes, for the amount of equipment that they're supposed to maintain, it's pathetic. It's pathetic, really. I mean, it's, the stuff that's there is worn out and junk to begin with. But
Okay.
that's- You want an opinion, there's an opinion.
No, I'm
Didn't
glad you
we-
shared the opinion.
Didn't we give 75 last year too, for two?
5,
5?
and I can detail out exactly what we bought with that
No,
5,000.
No, I trust you with
I
that.
thought you're right.
We haven't spent it all yet.
You haven't spent it?
Nope. A couple items that we were waiting to make sure we didn't need any specialty items, between now and the end of the year.
Okay. So that's not the one I'm gonna star then.
Figure it out.
Improvement. I'm just going through my notes here if anybody has anything else want to add. Okay. Diane, do you think you can find 100,000 out of Public Works?
I don't know. Ryan and I will look at it and see.
So what were the positions that you wanted to eliminate again?
Basically, the ones that we put in last year.
What ones did we put in last year? I don't remember adding a lot of Public Works positions.
Two, but we're only taking out one.
I know, I just want more specifics, so I'm
Well,
trying to.
If you look at the,
I know.
it would be driver operator 4, I guess.
Okay, just that one?
I believe it was 3 and 4 that we put in.
So you want to eliminate 3 or 4? I'm just trying to figure out.
Either, whichever
but I
one
mean-
is the newest hire.
So I'm just trying, you're trying to eliminate one position there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna have enough people to do the snowplow operations? if we
That's
go-
something Ryan and I will have to, I mean, if that's what you truly want, then we need to come back to you with the impact of not having that position and what's not gonna get done. And because we're not gonna have any money in this budget to contract with anybody, so.
No.
If we don't have the staff to get the work done, it's just not gonna get done. And plus, I wanna see what we have for a list of projects that need to be done. just to give you a full understanding of what that means if we do truly cut a position.
I remember when this came to us last year, or this past year. That was last year, when Mr. Olmsted to fill the openings that we had. Maybe that was with you this year. I'm not sure. But I had specifically said that I didn't think we needed to fill those positions. And I know it's nice to have them, but if we can get the job done with a reduction, then I think we should try. But I think it'd be good for you guys to look into it. That's all the notes that I have on this one. Go to this one. That's good. I've gone over all my notes for the budget. Does anybody have anything else before we end for the night on the budget?
Wasn't here earlier. Did anyone?
I asked them to take out contingency.
Okay, you already gone over that. That was
Yep.
the only other thing I was gonna ask.
Okay. So just to think about it again, Diane, so our original goal, the council goal was that we gave a direction on with this school was to reduce by $300,000. And looking at your budget that you have put forward, you have already, between reductions and additional revenue, you have a $153,000 reduction for say, which brought us to $147,000 shy of our goal. And I think if we can do the $100,000 out of police and $100,000 out of public works, would surpass our goal. So I think that we should try to hit those 2 year marks each and see what we can find in those, but at the same time, make the increase of $10,000 in abatements, the insurance for the tax collector of $1,700, and $2,800 for the town clerk for those professional services. And we'll have our public hearing on Tuesday, or not Tuesday, May 5th, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And are we all set for the elementary school for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all reserved.
All right, thank you, Twyla. Does council have any other comments or questions? No? So as we always, go ahead,
So we
Diane.
won't meet again until May 5th when I have everything.
So do we,
I don't think we're going to have time, but
well, we have a council meeting next week.
Right.
yeah.
So if you have any updates, you can give us then. Yeah, I'm looking at the right month.
Yeah, we got a couple
Yes.
of them.
Okay, yep,
Have a meeting next week.
and then the 5th. All right,
It's
so,
going to take some time for the health insurance part.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to have to build in something in here for that.
do you think you're gonna have the health insurance information by May 5th?
Yeah, I should know something.
Wow.
By then. I should, yeah.
That'd be quick. So as we always do, I'd open the floor for anybody in the public that has anything they'd like to comment on regarding the budget tonight. All right, seeing none. Any other comments, questions from council? Workshop is adjourned. Thank you.
About 2 minutes before the end.
That was awful.
What are the chances of
Don't
that?
have guys, you're not going to do the data either, so.
The town has grown.
So, Dale, they wrote us a bad check.
I agree, I just want to make sure we can provide